Each year, thousands of students travel to and from school by rail. What are the railroads doing to give them the best transport service?
This is Campus Correspondent, bringing you highlights of the continuing adventure in research and training that is the business of our great centers of learning. Each night on WMAQ, Monday through Thursday, you'll visit the campuses of Chicago's colleges and universities. You'll be taken into classrooms and laboratories, to research centers and special project areas. You'll see higher education in action. Tonight, your host is Northwestern University. And here with a program about the Transportation Center is Northwestern's campus correspondent, Ken Mars. What kind of transportation are we going to investigate tonight, Ken?
Well, we're going to ride the rails tonight for a close-up look at one of the traditional and still very glamorous forms of transportation. The glamour has changed its character in the past few years, but there's still a good deal of excitement connected with railroading. It's an excitement in keeping up with the times, and it's caused by such developments as automation, plastics, high speeds, and fast schedules. To give you an idea of what railroads are up to these days, take a quick ride with us out to Mineral, Illinois now, and hear about an electronic method for detecting hot boxes. Now, here's an old-timer who will explain to you the very latest device.
We're standing here at Mineral, Illinois, 142 miles west of Chicago to see this device work. You want me to explain to you how this here hotbox detector works. Well, now, here comes 91. When he gets through whistling, I'll let you know. This here 91 is a real hot shot westbound. It's got Kansas City and Minneapolis freight. And now you'll notice that this hotbox detector is a little box-like thing, like a box camera up on a post. And it's trained right at the wheel line, right at the journal line, so that if a hotbox goes by, it'll activate that infrared thing inside of it, which will light up a signal. And that'll tell the engineer that he's got a hot box in the train, so the engineer will know where to stop. Or no, he has to stop, rather, and go out and run along there, the brakeman will, and try to find it so that there won't be any trouble. And if it has to be set out, it can, and if it can go on, it'll go on. So that's about all I can tell you about this now.
Well, we're back in the studio now, and we're on our way to the LaSalle Street Station. It's one of the landmarks of Chicago. This station has seen the railroad business pass through many stages. It's cleaner out there in the yards now than it was in the days of the steam engines, and it's a lot quieter. And the faraway places the trains used to come from are hours nearer now. For a first-hand picture of what railroading is like today, let's visit the station master. His name?
E.J. Eckert.
Mr. Eckert, we've just seen a train come in here. What is this train?
That's a commuter from Joliet.
And can you describe the engine to us?
It's operated by a diesel engine, 493, and it has a total of 4 cars.
What's its schedule into the station?
It's an hour's run from Joliet.
And how often does it make the trip?
Every day. It's a daily train.
Well, now, this station serves more than the commuter lines, does it not?
Oh, yes. We have through service on the Rock Island to Los Angeles and New York Central to New York. Also the Nickel Plate Railroad to New York. We have 3 railroads running in here at the present time. This depot consists of 11 tracks. We have approximately 200 trains daily, both in and out.
How many of these trains are freight trains?
We have no freight trains other than they're all passenger trains, but they carry mail, baggage, and express. Most of these trains have head-end equipment, head-end loading, which is, as I stated, mail, baggage, and express. We have solid express trains and mail trains on the New York Central that operate into our mail dock, which is located just outside of the terminal on the east side of the station.
All these slick, shiny diesel engines sitting in the station represent quite a contrast to the picture one used to see in the railway station. How long has it been since this yard was filled with the old steam locomotives?
When I came here in 1913, we had all steam locomotives. And in the past 5 years, we are 100% dieselized. And we have all diesel engines on all trains operating into this terminal.
We're all familiar with the usual type of diesel train, but standing over here, I notice a train that I haven't really seen before. I've seen it in the advertisements, but this is the first time I've seen it up close. This is the jet rocket train, isn't it, Mr. Eckert?
Yeah, the jet rocket is it's a beautiful train. It's built on the Talco type, and it operates, makes 2 trips to Peoria daily, in and out of this terminal. It consists of 4 cars and 2 in Chicago at 9:10 in the morning, and leaves here at 9:55.
Mr. Eckert, how often does a station master get out and stand on the tracks like you and I are doing right now and look over the trains? How much time is spent out here and how much time in the office?
More than 2/3 of his time is spent right in the train shed, watching and operating the service.
Well, now we talked about the dieselization of the train service. I wonder how that, as well as the other electrical and electronic devices and all the new automation that has come into industry today, how have all these things affected the job of the station master? They made it harder or they made it easier?
Well, about the same. We still have our difficulties. Of course, we don't have quite the noise that we did when we had the steam locomotives. But I like the diesel operation.
Do you look forward to any future developments in the near future here that's going to change your life as a station master in the LaSalle Street station?
Well, I hope we have more trains, faster trains than we got now. No doubt they will be. As we're going along, we're improving rapidly.
Mr. Eckert, while we've been talking, I noticed that a couple of tracks over to our left, another train, a Rock Island train, has come in. Will you describe this train for us?
This is the Denver Rocket, and due here at 8:50. We just arrived with 17 cars. This train comes from Denver and Colorado Springs, and it's a beautiful train.
Well, what's going to happen to it in your yard here?
This train, after the passengers are unloaded and the head-end cars are unloaded of mail, baggage, and express, the train will be taken or backed out to the coach yard, which is located about 6 miles from here, 51st Street, where it'll be reconditioned, and the train will be switched and returned for the outgoing rocket this afternoon. That's the outgoing Denver Rocket, train number 7.
Well, now with the new 17-car train just arriving in your yard, Mr. Eckert, I know you have a job to do, so I'm going to thank you very much for talking to us and let you go back to your work.
Well, that's railroading. 1956 style. Seen through the eyes of a veteran station manager, a man who has watched trains come and go for 43 years. Our next guest hasn't been around trains quite that long. He was born 2 years after Mr. Eckert went to work in the LaSalle Street station. But railroading is just as much in his blood. Downing B. Jenks, president of the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Railroad, grew up in the railroad business. And it can be truly said that the railroad business is growing up a lot faster because of Downing Jenks. Now, we're most fortunate in having one of the nation's top railroad executives to answer our questions. As a matter of fact, we have 3 experts to talk to. With Mr. Jenks are 2 other officers of the Rock Island, E.E. Folks, Assistant Vice President of Operations, and Frank J. Conrad, Vice President in charge of traffic. Mr. Jenks, we're particularly interested in this program concerning the recent developments that have brought railroad service to today's high level. Would you describe some of these innovations? We might begin with the trains themselves first.
There are quite a few new developments in the railroad field. A lot more research is being done now than has been the case in the past. Among the things that the public, I think, has noticed the most are the new type passenger trains, which have come out just this year. The thing that started the whole ball rolling was the order that we placed for the Talgo type train, the jet rocket to Peoria. Then the next thing was the General Motors Aero train, which the New York Central and Pennsylvania used. The Pullman people came out with the Explorer, which is now in service in the New York Central. The Bud people built for the Pennsylvania the Keystone. And then the Santa Fe purchased their high-level trains, which are very fine accommodations. All this has meant a great deal as far as the passengers are concerned. None of these trains is the final answer, but out of them we ought to come up with something a great deal better.
That's quite remarkable. In these days of rapid advances in many fields, all happening more or less at the same time, a great many industries borrow from others. I'm thinking now of the way in which nearly everybody uses plastics. And there are new kinds of metal alloys, new rubber processes, and so on. Are railroads making use of the developments in other fields?
Plastics have been used to a great extent, and we're making the most of up-to-date materials and new methods of designing cars.
Oh, very interesting. Now, for a moment, let's turn to the freight field. What are some of the latest developments there?
One of the most unusual is the new 38-foot four-wheel car, which we have in service now. We'll have more of them in service before long. We call it the converter freight. Mr. Folks, the Assistant Vice President Operation, will tell you more about this type of car in just a few minutes. But we're using electronics to a great extent in our yards, in our terminals, in our communications. Radio, microwave, and television are becoming common things on the railroad now. Most of our locomotives are equipped with radios. Communication goes over microwave as well as wires and carrier and radio. And then other electronic devices, such as the new machine we have for sorting car records and passing it on to the traffic offices so that better tracing information will be available. That machine will be ready for service very shortly. All of these things indicate that the railroad people are doing more in the way of investigation and doing more and more to keep their properties modern and up to date. There are new things coming up every day, really too many to mention here very briefly. Mr. Folks, will you go on and describe the converter freight car?
This is a development to obtain several objectives. One is less gross weight to the net weight that can be carried. Another is to provide our customers with the type of container or unit that will specifically fit their needs. In other words, we're trying to tailor-make it instead of an off-the-shelf deal that is forced on the customer, who must then fit his loadings to the transportation unit. The car is 38 feet long. It's a four-wheel car.